everybody. So I wanted to do a little updated testimonial for Ian, and to give people a view from the other side, somebody that stopped working with Ian, somebody that had spent a lot of time with him, but stopped working with Ian, to kind of go off on my own. And I think Ian would be one of the first to say that that is the idea of a coach. It's that you should always have the mindset that at some point this client will go. So let me give you a quick overview of where I've come from, why I chose to go with Ian, why I feel Ian was the right choice for me at the point, and what really made Ian stand out, and then what I really would like to then go in is kind of what I would call a success, and why I think Ian didn't just give me success in terms of where I left Ian at and what point I was at when I left Ian, but the success that I have been able to carry further on over the last number of months of not working with Ian. So let me give you a little short overview of where I've come from. So people that don't know is I was around about 23 stone when I first started and first contacted or started looking into Ian, to be fair, because I didn't reach out to Ian when I was at 23 stone, but that's where I started from. I did manage to do some work on my own with other friends that I had, who kind of give us some helping hand and some tips and to help us kind of start the journey. So started off at around about the 23 and a half stone mark, and started on a low carb diet. Started because that was kind of the fad at that point. Everybody was talking about low carbs and the success they've had, and how it was like the magic portion of fat loss. So I did start a low carb diet, and to be fair, for a number of weeks it was pretty successful. I didn't really understand the science behind it, so what I do know now is the methodology around low carb diets, your keto diets. I understand now that the principles of how that works, etc. But that's how I started. Lost a bit weight. The biggest issue with the low carb diet that I found though was that I couldn't stick to it, so it wasn't going to ever be consistent for us. It was never going to be a long-term strategy, and that started to show a little bit later on, when I started to gain a little bit of weight back. And then I kind of went through this whole reaching out for more fads, etc., and so on. And then a good friend of mine who then got us into weight training. Now that was a big change for me, because I started to find a way of enjoying the exercise and enjoying the goal of weight training. And what then came with that was I started to understand a little bit more about nutrition, certainly around the bodybuilding side and the weightlifting side, and that then made us understand and really actually start to want to understand a little bit more about nutrition, and that's how I came across Ian. So my journey started by I contacted Ian. We had a good few chats, to be fair, just some DMs and stuff on Instagram, and then we reached out, and we decided to have a call because we'd been DMing for a good number of weeks, and just like text, sometimes just easier to pick up the phone. So we had a talk, and I kind of give Ian my background and Ian give me his background, and we went back and forwards a little bit, I think, because one thing from my perspective as a client, I need to understand that Ian was the right fit for me, but also Ian as a coach needed to understand that I was the right fit for him. And again, and just to touch on that, I think one of the reasons for success is when you have a client and a coach that can read each other so well, it does make that journey and them change just a little bit easier to understand. So me and Ian started working together. I kind of think on the top of my head what weight I was, but probably around about the 19.5 stone, 20 stone mark at this point. Picked up a little bit of knowledge as time went on, but yes, so I had a bit of knowledge to go into it with Ian. So, but I think, what I chose Ian for was because of his approach to weight training, because I wanted to understand the weight training methodologies more, based around weight training, etc. But I know he had a real insight into weight loss and fat loss. And one thing that was key for Ian is that he wasn't looking for success based on the numbers coming off the scale. His success is based on the mental health and the inner hopes of a client. He really cares for the client. He really reaches out to a client in terms of, he cares for their personal being, and he's not just looking for a win on a scale weight. Over the journey when you're coming from where I came from, I found it so important that Ian really cared for my mental health, because there was ups and downs. It was very difficult at times. So Ian really cares for the person. It's not all about the numbers for Ian, and Ian's views are that he wants to dig into you and understand why you are where you are, and then start to make them fixes from there. And with the long-term goal of success being that at some point you will go out on your own. And again, that's another reason why I chose Ian, because I didn't want a coach that was going to have us hanging around for years. I needed a coach that was going to give me the right tips and understanding, so I can go out there on my own and make sure that I don't bounce back to what I was in the past. So that's a little bit about myself, and again why I chose Ian. What was it like working with Ian? Ian is a very honest guy. He's got a family of his own. He understands life can be hectic, but he's a very, very honest guy. And again, one of the things I liked about Ian was he didn't kind of bang around the bush or anything. He told you how it was. And again, that's really important. It's almost a bit tough love at times, and you do need that, because sometimes things just go a little bit tough. So I think Ian is so interested in helping you as a person, more than anything else. So to continue on a little bit about what it's like, working with Ian, is Ian sees everything as a team effort. If you aren't in it 100%, he won't give you 100%. And I think that's important. The reason why is because he can only give you so much, and you have to go off and do the rest. For me, it's not about holding hands, but it's about giving you the right guidance to go off and be an adult and make your own decisions. Working with Ian also is that he is there. He's there 24/7. And there is no denying that. And to me, that was things like when I first started with Ian, it was Christmas Day. I was kind of like a lot of people probably are, panicking about, am I going to eat? What am I going to do? Or I'm going to do this. Weight's going to bounce right up and everything. Ian was there, Christmas Day, no problem at all. But that's because he cares. He cares about his clients. He cares about the people. Ian becomes a friend. He's not just a coach, but he becomes a friend, and he's somebody that really wants to help and support you, whatever time of the day it is. Ian as a person he is very, very friendly. He is very loyal. He's very trustworthy. He's not a counsellor in any aspect, even though I think sometimes you think he is, because you find yourself talking about other aspects of life, not just about your fitness goals or your nutrition goals. You start to talk about other things with him, but I think that's because of the type of person Ian is. He's very easy to talk to, very understanding, and he's got some pretty good advice, and if you give him a chance to listen, he can give you some real benefit of moving on also in life. Ian, when I was, if we look at Ian as a coach for weight training, Ian looks at training in an aspect of understanding what you are trying to achieve before you go into a weight room and start picking up weights. He also runs that in the same aspect as nutrition. He wants you to understand what you're doing. He doesn't want to just give you a piece of paper and say, do this, do that, do this, because you aren't going to learn anything. He wants you to understand the reasons behind why he's advising what you're doing. And I think that was really beneficial to me, because it gives knowledge to which I needed to go off on my own. But he also gives you the guidance to then start making further decisions without stressing or worrying about it on a day-to-day basis. If you look at the success that I've had, a lot of people look at me and go, oh, you've lost so much weight and all of this, and you've lost that much fat and all of this. But the bigger picture for me is not about the weight loss. It's about how I've changed as a person. My confidence has changed. My physical appearance, not just my body, but also, my face. The amount of people that would walk past us who I used to talk to quite regularly 10 years ago would walk past us now. Probably one, they probably don't speak to us anymore, but two, they actually don't recognize us anymore. And I think that's the biggest change that which people underestimate, is that they don't see the change in the person's appearance and their confidence as a person and their personality more than they do with the weight loss. That's why to go into Ian really helps and guides you through that, because that is one of the biggest challenges I've found, which impacted my life massively, was how my life, my confidence changed, not just my aspect of life, but the people around us also. In a way, I changed as a person. And I think Ian's very good at being able to keep you on the right path and giving you the right guidance and making sure you don't go off on the wrong journey. But again, that comes down to Ian's willingness to really listen and understand you as a person, and give you that guidance. And that guidance it's priceless. It really is. So, for Ian, that's one of the true measures of what I think Ian did for me and why I think it was such a success, working with Ian. What is the journey like now? Well, thanks to Ian, I am able to live my life in a very normal way now. I still love weight training. I still do that, religiously. I understand that nutrition. I understand the aspects of life. I understand in terms of how life brings certain things your way, meals out with family, birthdays, Christmases, holidays, all that type of stuff. But one of the key things Ian done was he gave us the understanding and knowledge to be able to manage that aspect, but also not stress about it. Not think I've gone on holiday, I've put on 5, 6, 7 pound. He's given us a completely different mindset on how to manage that, and that's given me my long-term success. My next part of my journey is a operation. I will have a tummy tuck, or an extended tummy tuck, because it will also go around my sides. But Ian was very key to that, because Ian gave me guidance, and then he also gave us an ear to talk to with concerns and worries that I had about that, because of course I'm a very active person right now, and I have been for a long time. So understanding that how my activity levels will drop during the recovery process, and how I won't be able to go into the gym, something that I love to do, which is for me and my mental health is really, really important, especially all this crap that Boris has got going on at the moment. But Ian was the ear that I could talk to throughout this, and he still has been, even Ian hasn't been my official coach for a number of months now, but he'll always be my coach. He'll always be a friend, and I think that's what made our story such a success. you know, being able to leave a coach by still calling them coach, still calling them a friend. You know, we can take as many pictures as we want, we can talk as much as we want, but success is not based on the short-term goals or the short-term success. It's always based on the long-term. You know, you can go away and do a 6-week transformation. You learn nothing. You'll go generally back to square one. If not, it'll be a lot worse. My success with Ian has been based around the long-term journey, and taking everything he's helped me with and given me the knowledge to continue on in my life. I guess the last part of this is, if you're thinking or you're sitting on the fence about using Ian and spending money, because you know money is money, is if you're serious about what you want to do when you are ready for the change, I cannot recommend Ian Bickle enough. Ian will guide you. He will give you the knowledge for long-term success. He will be your ear through the good times and the bad time or the hard times. He will become a friend. You will become a friend overnight, and he will care for you, and he will care about your mental health more than anything else. Ian will not let you down. Ian is very loyal. Ian is one of the kindest men that I've ever come across. And he only cares about you as a person, not anything else. If you are still sitting on the fence, I would fully recommend that you have a real good conversation with Ian. Pick up the telephone and have a chat with them, and you know, find out if you will it work together with you both, and if it does, and you put the commitment in, because that's key. You have to put the commitment in. If you do, I will pretty happily say that you will be a success, as long as you put that commitment in with Ian, because if you give 100%, Ian will give you 150%. That's a guarantee. But yeah, I think that's it. I think, like I say, I think it's there was a lot. You know, me and Ian worked together for a long time. I think there's a lot that could be said. I think you know, Ian has a podcast for me and him, and I think that would be something that is probably really interesting to listen to. But yeah, go out there, you know, speak to Ian. You know, I guarantee you now that you won't have any regrets if you put that commitment in. But yeah, anyways, take care.